What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com, and I am back with my top 5 bets for the week in the world of mixed martial arts. And you know what? We had a great week last week. The FLIER hit. Jake Hadley got a submission, plus 550. My 2 bets from Cage Warriors hit, so great week. 3 out of the 5 hit, but when you get a plus 550, you don't really need anything else. So I've gone back to the well for Cage Warriors this weekend. I have 2 bets from Cage Warriors and 3 bets from the big UFC card. But we also have KSW this weekend. I'll hit on that at the end of the show and tell you a few of the bets I like there. And obviously with the preview coming up, it's probably be out maybe already by this stage of KSW and Cage Warriors together, so you can get even a further look at that. Please bet responsibly, though. I must say that before we get into this. Don't go mad. Don't bet too much, especially a big UFC week come up. We can sometimes tend to go overboard. So bet responsibly. Have fun with it. This is a fun betting show. This is not. This is not one of the crazy betting shows out there where we're going into every. We're like, this is an MMA fans betting show. This is not a betting experts betting show. I throw out some of the bets I like, and you see if you like them too. But very interesting. Before we get into it, actually, there was a bit of, I suppose, betting controversy in news this weekend. There has been an investigation open. I know people saw it into the Derek Minor fight. It was funny because I actually wasn't watching the fights live, and I went back and I was watching afterwards. And there was obviously a bit of line movement, and then the fight went the way it went, where he looked injured. And we spoke about this a few weeks ago. And it feels like it's so quickly come around in like 2 weeks' time that it's crazy. Like, because there's the whole all the corners and fighters being stopped from betting on the fights. Then there is all this, I suppose, this lack of talk about it. Usually when things happen like that, right, everyone's either giving out about it or everyone is like in agreement with it, and there's very rarely a case where those two things don't happen, or else some people like it, some people hate it. I haven't seen much reaction to this at all. Now, I saw a few people making jokes. I saw one fighter saying someone must have seen my parlays and made betting illegal. But I find it very odd, and I wonder why that is with this. Now, I think it's mostly like because people are probably betting and not setting up fights or anything like that, but don't want to like stop doing it and think maybe can we continue to get away with doing it, like a few bets, like putting on a tenner on the weekend or something. I don't know, maybe that is, but this situation that came up, it's a very odd one. I'm looking forward to hearing what the investigation comes out with. The fight, I'll put it to you this way, the fight looked odd. But is it odd because something happened, or is it odd because of the injury? Now, fights can look odd because of the injury. Look at the TJ Dillashaw fight the other day. I don't think anyone thinks there was any match fixer or anything in that. But because of the injury, it looked very weird. Like, if you didn't realise he had the injury, or if, you were in the crowd, maybe like, what's going on here? Like, it can look odd. Now, that can happen. Or it can be the other way around. We'll see, I suppose. But I think it's an interesting thing, obviously, to mention here. And it's something I'll mention again when maybe the investigation comes out, or when, when we get results from that. Because, this is a betting show, and we should look at all sides of betting on this show as well, I feel, because I don't want to not cover things that are important, especially when when people are betting and when they're putting their hard-earned money on it. So absolutely, we'll keep an eye on that, and I will touch on it again when there is a bigger update on that. But let's get into the bets, and let's get straight to it. I'm going to give my 2 Cage Warriors bets first, and then I'm going to give my 2 UFC bets. Now, if you're only here for the UFC, don't forward yet, because you can make the same amount of Cage Warriors money from Cage Warriors as you can from the UFC, and I got 2 from Cage Warriors last week. So not doing. Actually, sorry, I'm not good. I make a mistake. I'm giving 1 from Cage Warriors and 1 from KSW and 1 from Cage Warriors. I had 2 from Cage Warriors. we'll get to that in a second. I kind of backed out of 1. So yeah, 1 from Cage Warriors, 1 from KSW. First one from Cage Warriors. So, and I'm going for Manny Akpan plus 240 against Samuel Bark. Now, Manny Akpan's was supposed to fight someone. Bark was supposed to fight someone. And both those fights fell out. So as Cage Warriors always do, they do a great job of matchmaking. Ian Dean's fantastic. They put the two lads together and made a better fight. And this is, oh my God, forget about betting for a second. You need to watch this fight, because this is fight of the weekend material, genuinely. Even, okay, maybe Poirier and Chandler, but honestly, it could be. This is brilliant. You have two strikers who are going to go out and strike. Like, I really don't see much wrestling here. I don't see much grappling here. This is a guaranteed striking match, I think. So you've Bark, who came out last time and looked so good in his fight against Tobias Harila, where he came in on short notice. He was the underdog. He's only 5 fights into his career at that stage, and knocked out Harila with a massive knee that he has been. Myself and Brad did the preview show before that, and we were saying, like, this lad throws knees, and if he catches Harila one of them, he will beat him. And it wasn't he just caught him, he was the better fighter on the night, you know. And then you look at Manny Akpan, he's only 4-1, so both of them very young in their careers. But like, if you look at some of the wins he's had, spinning wheel kick the last time, he, like, a few times he's been taken down, the fight's gone to the ground, and he's won one by a triangle choke, knocked out Ben Ellis in the first round. Ben Ellis, who is a very good wrestler now. So the price here, plus 240 for Manny Akpan. You're probably thinking, why is that price so big? And honestly, I think the price, here's why I tell you the price is so big. I think the price is so big because Bark has beaten Harila, who is known as someone who's so very, very good. And Bark has like this, you know, he's a very, very good Muay Thai background from all accounts. And he's, you know, a high level striker in the way he strikes. And look, if you give me the bottom straight up, I would probably go for Bark to win the fight, because he turn it into like a straight kickboxing match where his striking becomes more fluid and more useful. I was going to say yes. I actually don't know. I don't. Maybe I wouldn't pick him straight up, because I believe in Manny Akpan. I really like him. I saw Manny Akpan's first fight, I think, as a pro, and from that day forward, I'm like, this guy is the answer. This guy is legit, and he really is. But he is. You know, look at the lads behind me there, Wonderboy, Anderson Silva. He's from their ilk. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as they were, anything like that. Now, maybe he will. But he is a wild striker. He's win by spinning wheel kick. Throws big kicks, throws big punches. Has good cardio. Even when he's taken down, he's dangerous on the ground, but he can get taken back up. Or he can get back. He taken back up? Taken back up? That's a new one. That's a new phrase. He can get back up and he can win the fight again. And like, thinking about it again now, let's say Bark does try to push him into that straight up Muay Thai or kickboxing match where he has a massive chance to win. I think that's going to be a very hard thing to do against Manny Akpan. Like, he's going to step back, step sideways and throw big wheel kicks at you, or throw a flying knee of his own at you. And like, I really think this plus 240 bet is such a good price in a fight that's going to be a striking matchup. Like, no one wants to strike with Manny Akpan. The problem is no one wants to strike with Bark either. So it is one of those, to be fair. But I really like it. I really like this price. I don't think you're going to get a better... let's say, we talked about one of the fights last week, and I remember saying on it, and I think it was the Marco Madsen fight, so you'll either get this price double the next time, or you'll never get this price again. And I don't think it's necessarily the case you get it double next time, but you'll never get this price again. If Manny Akpan wins this fight, Cage Warriors title contention, UFC. I'm telling you, this is a massive turning point in Manny Akpan's career. If he can win this fight, he'll be in the UFC, I think, in 2023. I truly believe that, because if he beats Bark in the way he can beat him, there are many lads there at the top of that division who I think will hold Manny Akpan back, and maybe it'll be 2024 because he's still young in his career and everything like that. But honestly, I believe in him, and I believe in his striking, and I think he's going to land a big strike here and get the knockout. So very interesting fight. One of the fights of the weekend. If you're tuning in for Cage Warriors, definitely tune in for that one. We'll talk more about Cage Warriors in a few minutes, but yeah, that's my first bet of the week. Second bet of the week, I am going for, as I said, over to KSW, and I'm going for Tom Breese, who I see here is actually minus 143. Now, he was minus 180 during the week. I see him one place, he's still minus 180, but minus 143 here, which is absolutely... I think just a fantastic price on Tom Breese. You know, he's coming over now, and this is his Jesus, what is his third fight back over in outside of the UFC? Yeah, and he's done, he's done absolutely phenomenal work in his time there. He's looked so good in KSW, looked so efficient in everything he's done, looked confident. And with Tom Breese, I don't think anyone has ever questioned his ability. He's spoken about himself. Obviously, he's had, I suppose, mental issues, even backstage with the mentality of the fight, just getting into the fight, getting into that mode, I suppose, which is a very understandable thing. And I remember saying at the time, is like, I'd love to see Tom Breese getting a run in, say, like a KSW or a Cage Warriors or somewhere like that, getting 10 fights even, and then going back to that level, because I think he's well able to fight at that level. I really do think he's well able to fight on that level, and I'm glad he's getting this run. But this fight this weekend against Pawlak, look, Pawlak, if you haven't seen him fight, I watched a good bit of him before preparing for this in the preview. Obviously, he's very active on the outside, very varied, loves to throw turning kicks, front kicks. The one thing I would say with him, and look, we know how Tom Breese fights, very good power striker, straight 1-2s down the middle, and brilliant BJJ if the fight hits the ground. I think Pawlak throws too much. I really do. I just think certain fighters, and this is at middleweight if I'm not mistaken, isn't it? Certain fighters at certain weights, they do too much. I always thought Jack Hermanson is a very dangerous fighter in the first round and a half because he throws so much. But after that, it's like, and he's a middle or welter and middle, and he welterweight. Yeah, I don't know at those sort of weight. You can do that at the lighter weights, like a Demetrius Johnson or a 125er can throw as much as they want and keep going. Now some welterweights obviously and others can do it as well. We saw Ken Velasquez doing it at heavyweight, but that's a special type of fighter. Now, is Pawlak that, and can he do that against someone like Tom Breese? I honestly don't think so. I really, really don't think so. He makes the, okay, here's two things, right? He makes the fight hard on you, but if you're an experienced guy like Tom Breese is, you're going to be able to deal with that. Let's be honest. You've seen everything in MMA. You've seen people throwing, this and this and this, going with pressure or going off the back foot. You know how to deal with pressure in the fight, or pressure as in forward motion. You know how to deal with that if you're Tom Breese. And if you can deal with him making the fight hard on you, then what comes is him making the fight hard on himself. Because he throws so much and he leaves himself so open that if a person can deal with all the shots coming and counter them, he's just open for counters over and over and over again. And I think that'll be the case against Tom Breese. I think minus 180 I was given the bet. It's gone down to minus 143 now in another place it's opened. Honestly, if this was minus 250, I think I would have given it. I really fancy Tom Breese in this fight. I think it's a great matchup for him. Not to say that Pawlak is a bad fighter or anything. I think he will beat most people with that ability that he has. But Tom Breese, no, I don't think so. Now, Tom Breese isn't always at his best. I have to say that too. He isn't always at his best. But if he's anywhere approaching his best, I think this is a walkaway fight for him, really. I think it's a very, very good fight for Tom Breese. And I do think he win it. Fighting out of Team Renegade, that gym is going so well at the moment. Obviously, Leanne Edwards is champion. Fabian won against Charlie Ward last week. Jai Herbert came in with a win. I think Ian Gary was even training there recently, I think. So, the gym is in a very good spot at the moment. And, Tom Breese is one of my bets for the week. So, third bet for the week. This was an interesting one. So my third bet for the week, I'm going for the under in Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili. The under 4.5 rounds, and I'm going for and it's minus 115 for the under. Now, the reason I went for this, I wanted to get a bet for one of the title fights, and I was looking through it, and we'll go through the rest of the betting, I suppose, for it afterwards. But I feel like there's always value to find in one of these fights, just by knowing, if you can decipher what the result will be, and decide on it and go, okay, I'll look at that. What's the price on that? Let's say, so my deciphering of what the result will be, I think Zhang will finish the fight. I really think she will. The price for the KO wasn't great. Is she going to submit her? Probably not, I don't think. No, and then you're getting into like picking rounds. When's she going to do it? How is she going to do it? Like, I think it's, I see two options in this fight, right? I see Zhang either going in there and absolutely overwhelming Esparza early and finishing her in the first round. And that would have been a possible flyer. And the second part I see is, okay, there's actually three options. That's one option. The second option is Zhang beats her over in maybe 2 or 3 rounds. Esparza hangs in there tough, but eventually it's just too much damage and she's finished. And the third option is, for like the first 2 or 3 rounds, Esparza either manages to get a couple of takedowns or she manages to stay really far away from her. One of those two options. So I think, one of those three options, I think either way, either of those 3 ways, I think Esparza gets finished. I really do. I think Zhang is just going to have too much for her. If she stays safe, I think Zhang is going to find ways of getting inside, and she's going to have a lot of power and cardio left late. If she comes out early and lands a lot of shots, I think she'll finish her. And if she's winning the fight and landing her shots a lot, and Esparza survives, I think she'll end up finishing her too. So the under 4.5 rounds at minus 115, I think that's very, very good. It's better than the price as well for the fight to not go to a decision. Obviously, we'll get to that and we'll have a look at it in a second. But I really like that bet, honestly. Like, if you're to look at the fight again in a bit more detail, maybe, like, does Carla Esparza have a chance of winning? Like, does she have any chance of winning? Like, she does. I think it's very unfair to say she doesn't. Like, could you see a world in which Carla Esparza wrestles Zhang Weili early and often? I wouldn't show her the disrespect to say, no, she can't do that. I think she could do that, yeah. And, like, would I be shocked? I probably would be shocked, yeah. But I wouldn't be too surprised, you know? We've seen a lot in MMA. Is that a thing, like, sometimes we look at Carla Esparza and it feels like people completely disrespect her. Like, she's been a champion twice in that division. Okay, one was early, but then she worked her way back. And okay, the fight to win it was a dud, a literal dud of a fight. But still, she got to that fight and didn't get destroyed by Rose Namajunas. Now, I don't think the same fight can materialize against Zhang. I don't think Zhang will allow a dud to happen, like, you know, Rose kind of did, Rose Adesanya, as I like to call her sometimes. But we'll get to Adesanya. But I don't think Zhang will allow that to happen. But there are other ways. Like, coming into the fight against Rose, everyone was saying, like, okay, can she take Rose down, stay on top of her for 5 rounds and win the fight that way? And that didn't materialize. So now we've kind of forgotten that as an option for her to win. Where it definitely is. It definitely is an option for her to win. So I don't think that will happen. And now maybe if she does and she takes her down and maybe submits her or something, this bet is still good. You know? This bet is still good. So it's either of them to win in under 4 rounds at minus 115. Look, it is an interesting fight. I don't think so, because I do think Zhang will win. Can you make yourself interested in it by talking about the possible integers? Probably, and that's what we probably should be doing. You know, as like fans or as bettors, that's what we probably should be doing. But you know, my job, I suppose, as a media member is to break it down that way and give all sides, and then find, I suppose, a conclusion. And my conclusion is that I think this fight will end, and I think Zhang will be the one ending it. So there you go. Right, bet number 4 for the week. I've gone for the Chandler Poirier one, and I've sat in the fence on this again. And I've gone for a bet I don't think many people will be going for this week, but I've gone for Chandler versus Poirier to go to a decision at plus 195. Now, I saw that price, and I was looking at the other prices in the fight, and honestly, that's the price for me. I think that's the best bet in this fight. Now, because it's plus 195. And I think the fact it's plus 195 is the way the both lads have been fighting recently. But I just have an awful feeling, I spoke about this in a podcast this week, that Michael Chandler mightn't be as crazy as he was in his first few fights in the UFC. Like, it feels like Michael Chandler has said to himself, right, look, I've had a great career in Bellator. I've won all the championships and everything in Bellator. You know, he was the lad who was saying, people used to come up to him and say, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm a MMA fighter. And he goes, oh, you're in the UFC? And then he goes, no, I'm in Bellator. Which is unfair on Bellator and very bad to Bellator, who treated him very, very well. But that's how he felt, and I think he was being honest there. And I feel like when he's come into the UFC, he has tried to be as memorable and as exciting as he possibly can be. If he gets him a title, all well and good. If it doesn't, people will remember him anyway. And I think that has been a pretty effective way of fighting for him. But the problem with that is you look at Michael Chandler's record, right, in the UFC. And he's beaten Dan Hooker and the ghost of Tony Ferguson. Lost to Gaethje and Oliveira. All very, good fights and, 2 good wins and 2 losses that I don't think many people will give out about. But you'll go to Sherdog and you look at that and you go, sure, Chase, he only, who's he beat in the UFC? No one really, That will happen in future. Right? And I think, Tony Ferguson, obviously, if you look at the name, it'll be a very good one, but I don't think people will kind of forget what Tony Ferguson was at that stage of his career. But if you beat Dustin Poirier right now, obviously coming off of, he lost to whoever he lost to, but he beat McGregor twice before that. He's probably been in the form of his career over the last, 3 years or so. If you beat Poirier now, that everything changes there, right? Everything changes. Also, I don't think Michael Chandler is a stupid guy. And Poirier is maybe the hardest, putting up there with McGregor, probably the hardest hitting guy in that division. He hits so hard. He hits really, really hard. Do you really want to go into that sort of fight with Dustin Poirier, where you're going toe to toe? I don't think Michael Chandler is a stupid man. I really, really don't. And I feel like he's going to fight a little bit more conservatively. And I feel like Poirier will actually want that fight as well. I don't think Poirier is going to want a war here. If he's handed a war, he'll take a war. I think he'll have no problem with it. But I don't think he will want a war here. So I have a feeling it's going to be a good fight. But I feel like it might not be the war that people are actually expecting. And if it is, it could still go to a decision. So I like this one to go a little bit longer. Plus 195. I think that's a good bet. Okay, so the 5th bet of the week, the flyer of the week. I am going for now. When flyers were originated, this is what a flyer was intended to be. So I'm going for Israel Adesanya to win by submission at plus 1600. Now this is a flyer of all flyer. I went crazy. I got the flyer last week. I feel like I have some flyer petrol in the engine that I can use up, over the next few weeks. I'm going to give a few wild ones here. And look, this is certainly a wild one. Now here's my thinking. Right. I think Israel Adesanya is a guy, and I saw him actually doing an interview, I think it was with Ariel. I saw some quotes up from it. And he was saying that, after the last fight, people were criticizing me for being boring, and I went in and I cried in the dressing room afterwards. He was like, kind of never again, and it was all down to... He said at first it was on him, and only him, and then he was blaming MMA Lab and Jared Kennedy. They were prepared so well and all of this. And then he was kind of saying, never again, never again. And I'm saying never again like the last time I said never again. Fool me once, you're not going to fool me twice kind of job. But here's the thing. With that, right, Israel Adesanya talks and talks and talks, but he always fights the way he wants to fight. And I give him mad respect for that. I really do. I give him respect for that. Even though I don't think it's going to make him the superstar I think he could be. But anyway, we have another podcast about that. We'll leave that. So I think Adesanya is against Pereira is going to fight the easiest fight that he can fight, right? He's going to make it look as easy as he possibly can. Now, I suppose most people would think fighting from the outside and trying to stay away from Pereira as much as possible is the way to do that. And it could be. But it always gives Pereira a chance if you do that. I think the way it could be done is if he fights from the outside a lot and then tries to wrestle. See Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. That sort of thing. Like, I could see that fight materializing here, and then is he standing up afterwards and go, Francis, my brother, this is you inspired me to do it. I could really see that happening. I could honestly really see that happening. And if that does happen, you know, my good friend Andrew McGahan's always talking, he's been betting on Adesanya to win by submission for the last 5 years. Apparently Adesanya has good jiu-jitsu and things like that. Does he probably have a better ground game in jiu-jitsu than Pereira? I'd say he probably does. I think most people will probably acknowledge that. Like, if you want, you're looking at, forget about Adesanya, look at someone else. What's the best way to beat Pereira? What's the best way to beat him? Going out striking with him? Playing a safe long game with him? Wrestling him is the way to beat him. And why should it be any different for Adesanya? Like, it is different for Adesanya because he's a very, very good striker, absolutely. But what if he can use the striking to set up the wrestling? What if the striking isn't going well? Is he going to turn to wrestling then and try to get him to the ground? I think he could. I think he could. Like, as well, the way he lost to Jan Blachowicz, I think he's going to want to improve that side of his game. And I bet you he has been improving that side of his game for the last couple of years, and maybe he'll want to show it. So now, is this the most likely outcome? It's plus 1,600, so absolutely no, it's not the most likely outcome. But the FLIER is never the most likely outcome. You know, the FLIER is the FLIER, and Adesanya plus 1,600 as a FLIER. Let's go. Let's do it. Okay, let's have a look through the bets, and maybe decide on a couple of other ones before we go. Let's start and have a look at Cage Warriors. So there's 2 title fights on the Cage Warriors card. First of all, Christian Leroy Duncan minus 500 against plus 375 Marion Dimitrov. Look, I think Duncan will win that fight, but I wouldn't be betting him at that price. If I had to bet one of them, I would definitely be betting Dimitrov. Very, very good fighter. That plus 375 price, I think it probably should be closer to plus maybe 275, if I'm being honest. I do think Christian Leroy Duncan will win the fight, but I definitely wouldn't be taking that price there. The other title fight, Jimmy Wallhead against Matthias Figlak, minus 265 for Figlak, plus 205 for Wallhead. Just about right, I would say, maybe. If I was to pick one at those prices, I would probably go for Wallhead. But I don't like taking the minus prices, but it's just about right. I do think Figlak will win, but I think Wallhead is not without a chance. I really do think he's not without a chance, and I think he's going to put up a very, very good fight there, and I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. And, if the winner fights Reese McKee, or maybe Reese goes to the UFC, we'll see. You have Oban Elliott coming up, you have James Sheehan, and you have others as well in that division. Very, very interesting to see how they go. Some good up-and-comers, especially from next gen. Paddy Pimblett gym over in Liverpool. Adam Cullen, he's minus 800. Luke Riley, he's they're both minus 900 now, actually. I was looking at him last night. I was going to give them as a double, but it only came out to like minus 350 or something, and that was at minus 800, so it's probably more than that. But look, if you have an accumulator or something, throw them into it. I think that's not necessarily a bad price at all. And then obviously the Manny Akpan bet that we gave, he's actually out to plus 250 now, interestingly enough. Out to plus 250 is Manny Akpan, so that's even better. Keep going out and out and out, it'll be even better. KSW then, some very good fights this weekend. Saladin Parnasse against Sebastian Rakowski for the interim lightweight title. Parnasse going up, and he's a minus 500, minus 450 some places. Favorite plus 350 for Rakowski. Rakowski isn't without a chance either, I don't think. But look, Parnasse is the guy everyone talks about, and he is a very, very good fighter. That's a fight I would probably avoid in the betting, I think. A fight that I think is very interesting. Adrian Bartkinski against Christian Kazabowski. I haven't gone back and watched both of them this week. Plus 325 for Christian. Bartkovsky minus 450. So Bartkovsky is this 12-0 massive prospect coming through. And honestly, here, this is a bit critical now. I don't think he's as good as people make out. I honestly, I don't think he's I don't think he's as good a prospect as a 12-0 prospect who's on the verge of fighting for a title would suggest. I don't. So let's see, plus 320. I'd go for Kazabowski at plus 320 there. Honestly. Now I might be wrong, but let's see. Obviously Breese and Pawlak, we've talked about that. Interesting fight. Anton Rakic. This has actually come in on the betting a little bit. He's minus 110. Plus 110 Rakic. Georgia minus 138. Interesting one there. Very interesting probably Henry Fedipe against Albert Ozimskovsky. I didn't watch a load of Albert. I was talking to my guy Sean Denny, and he was telling me this is a very, very good fighter. And the price are kind of switching. One place he's the favourite, the other place Henry's the favourite. Henry fighting out of Ireland. He hasn't been fighting much over the last few years, Henry, and he was kind of in and out of the game there. Not to go against an Irish guy here, but I'd probably go for Albert in that one, if I'm being honest. So yeah, some interesting fights there over in KSW. Let's go to the UFC. From best fight odds, actually, I don't know, for some reason it's like down the bottom of the betting here, so just scroll all the way down and you'll find it. Let's go from maybe the bottom to the top here. Ulberg minus 117, minus 103 for Negumereanu. I think that's just about right. I like Goldberg, to be honest. Julio Arce is the underdog, plus 170 against Montel Jackson, minus 200. Probably just about right as well. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is on this card against Silvina Gomez Juarez. They're about even as well. I see they're both minus 111 in one place here. Carolina just about the favourite in other places. The over in that one is minus 140, and I will take that, please. Thank you very much. Michael Trezano against Sung-Woo Choi, minus 162 for Choi. Trezano plus 142. Toss a coin there. Ottoman Knights are against Matt Frivola. I like Ottoman there in that fight, minus 117 to minus 103 for Frivola, so very, very close there. Andrei Petrovsky against Wellington Thurman. Well, I've been stung by Wellington, I think, before. He's plus 170 here, so maybe Petrovsky is the one to go for there. Very interesting fight. Aaron Blanchfield minus 425 against Manny McCann, plus 325. Now, the one thing I would say with Aaron Blanchfield looks a very good prospect coming through, and Molly's kind of, I suppose, got to this level before, I suppose, kind of dropped back down a bit and is now climbing her way back up. But I honestly, I think the improvements in Molly are real. Honestly, I really do. I think she's a lot improved. I think this kind of, the fame she has, I suppose, achieved with Paddy over the last while has actually sprung her into action, maybe, and not necessarily even sprung her, but has helped along. And I think she's much improved. Is she going to win this fight? I'd probably pick Aaron Blanchfield straight up if I'm picking. But I think this price is maybe a little bit too much, if I'm being honest. Maybe like, minus 425, that's a big price. That is a big price. Maybe minus 250 would have been closer. Maybe, plus 200 for Molly or something like that. But, yeah, I think I'd probably avoid that one as well. That fight to go to a decision. Let's see what that is. Minus 170. Maybe that's the bet to go to there. Maybe. That's not a great bet either. I don't think so. I avoid that one. I'd stay away from it. Interesting fight here. Dominic Reyes, Ryan Spann. I remember watching tape before one Ryan Spann fight and thinking like, I like a Ryan Spann by KO. He doesn't always get him, but I'm like, I just like the way he knocks lads out sometimes. Plus 450. Look, Reyes is the favorite here at minus 210, plus 180 for Spann. I'd probably go for the Spann KO and avoid like the straight up betting there. Very interesting fight. Brad Riddell against Renato Moicano. Minus 123 for Moicano. He's the favorite. Plus 103 for Riddell. But you know what? I'm going for Riddell here. I don't know, is Moicano the same fighter as he once was? The fight IQ recently as well with Moicano has just been like, it's one of those ones, if you're talking about betting and you look at that and you're like, well, I'm never betting on you again. and I like Moicano and I have liked him down through the years, but like it's one of those ones like, hold on to that now, Moicano. One fight I'm finding very hard to pick is Puelles and Hooker. Minus 155 for Hooker. Puelles plus 135. I'm not sure where Hooker is. Like, I feel like Hooker in his prime, at his best, would beat Puelles. but I'm not sure if his head is completely in it anymore, or if things are going right for him. That might be a good bet on Puelles there. Another fight, like I'm almost afraid. Chris Gutierrez, Jesus, -221, +186 for Frankie Edgar. Like, I don't know. I mean, like Frankie Edgar, I don't understand. I really don't understand this. Like, he's a hip injury. He's got knocked out multiple times over and over. Like, Frankie Edgar should have retired a few years ago. And I was saying that a few years ago. So this is not, being a general after battle or anything like that. You've achieved so much in your career. Why not leave before all of those knockouts? And we all knew they were coming, and then they did come. And now you're going massively down in levels and are an underdog. Like, I just hope Frankie Edgar comes out of this unscathed and can roll off into the sunset. That's my one hope here. I'm not giving a bet in this one. I don't like this fight. I hate it because I have great respect for Frankie Edgar. And, maybe some people think, oh, you're calling him for him to retire. I'm calling for him to retire because he's achieved everything. I don't want to see the man getting hurt. And we've seen that. Anyway, that's probably a thing for another day. Let's talk about Izzy and Pereira, and then we'll jump back to the other two fights and give them great respect that they deserve as well. Pereira +165, -190 for Adesanya. I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. I was going to give Adesanya -190 straight up. He's -175. I hear and see him here in one pass. I just think that's crazy, lad. I think Izzy's going to win this fight. I don't know. I don't know how. Like, if you want the Pereira knockout, what is it? +200 only +200. Jeez, +400 for the Izzy knockout. Like, maybe if he doesn't get the submission and it goes to the ground, maybe maybe Izzy can get the ground and pound finish there. But I seen something like, what did I give it? +1400. He's +1800 in some places, +1000 in other places. But it's around +1400 for Adesanya by submission. This fight to go to a decision, -115. I think that's not a bad price. Like, if it does turn into that stand up, Adesanya staying away from him sort of fight, which I think it probably will. That's probably a good price there on that one. Yeah, I don't know. I find it hard to see. Like, what's Adesanya to win by decision? Let's have a look at that one. Adesanya to win by decision +125. That's probably, that's probably a good price. That's probably good. If you're going for a straight up bet, that's good. But I like my flyer. I'm going for my flyer anyway. So be damned with you all. Poirier and Chandler then -188 for Poirier. Michael Chandler +150. I think that line is correct, right down the middle. The over 1.5 rounds. I love that price. -130. The over 1.5 rounds. I think it will. I think it will. To go to decision +195. That's the bet I've given. Obviously, I like that bet. What about the Poirier KO +165? Chandler KO +400. Like, if you think if you think I'm wrong and you think it's going to end inside the distance, pick and choose there. Which one? Poirier's won lots of fights by submission. +900 to win by submission. Chandler is +650. I'm not sure why that is that way around, honestly. Maybe because Chandler's a better wrestler. But yeah, I don't see that. So, interesting prices there. And then Esparza versus Zhang Weili. Straight up +275 for Esparza, -400 for Zhang. Just about right as well. I probably should be a little wider, I would say, maybe. Fight goes to decision +130. Fight doesn't go to decision -160. But I've stolen a bit off of that. I've gone for the under at -115. So, very interesting, that line. I think that's a good line. Esparza to get the finish, to get the KO +1200. Zhang Weili to get the KO +135. If you like her by submission +800. Maybe not a bad bet, because if Carla goes for takedown, Zhang lands on top. I could see that. So +800 for the Zhang Weili submission. I like that bet. I think that's a good bet. Esparza inside the distance +750. Zhang inside the distance is -125. Yeah, I like that. But like, you're getting that, or you're getting the under 4.5 rounds of -115. I think that's probably a better price. So interesting there. And that is that is the bottom and top of the betting for this week. Let me just give a quick recap of my bets. Manny Akpan over in Cage Warriors, straight up plus 240. Tom Breese, straight up money line minus 143 over in KSW. I'm going for the under 4.5 rounds for Zhang Weili against Carla Esparza at minus 115. I'm going for Chandler versus Poirier to go to decision, plus 195, and a mad flyer for this week. Israel Adesanya by submission, plus 1600. Okay, if those bets come off, we'll be all fairly rich this time next week. So enjoy it. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Have a great time with your betting. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com. I'll see you all